So we have an interesting story here in the San Francisco Chronicle. Take a look at the headline. Bernie Sanders campaign co-chair, our buddy Ro Khanna, he says no mudslinging against Democrats. So apparently one of the things that Ro Khanna said to Bernie's team in order for them to bring him on as a co-chair is, hey, listen, we're not going to go negative, are we? We're not going to go negative on other Democrats. Most important thing is obviously we beat Donald Trump, and in order to do that, we should have, unity, cohesion on the left, and we shouldn't do gutter politics. We shouldn't do attack ads on other Democrats. And Bernie's team went, yeah, we're with you 100%. And this is what Bernie, despite what a lot of centrists will have you believe, this is exactly how Bernie ran his campaign in 2016. Remember, famously in the debate, he said, I'm sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. Bernie said that. There were multiple times where Bernie almost bent over backwards to not criticize Hillary and just stick to his own policy agenda. Now, my reaction to this is I half agree and half disagree with Ro Khanna. So, if the standard we're setting is this, hey, listen, you do not go on the offense against other Democrats. You do not throw the first punch. You do not draw first blood. Then I totally agree. I totally agree with that. You're running for president, and you want to present yourself as serious to the American people and ready to help them on the issues that are directly concerning to them. So yes, your focus should be on the stuff that Bernie always focuses on. Medicare for all, free college, living wage, end the wars, Green New Deal, all stuff like that, being pro-union to help workers, progressive taxation, getting money out of politics, all that stuff. And Bernie will put that stuff front and center. Here's where I disagree with Ro Khanna. And to be fair, I don't know if that's 100% true. He would have to clarify. Here's what I agree with 100%. Counterpunching. So you don't throw the first punch, you don't draw first blood, but if Kamala Harris or Beto O'Rourke or any of these people, I don't care who they are, if any of them come at you, you better go back at them. You better go back at them. And actually, despite what the media says, this is one of the reasons why Trump was very effective. Because even though he's a lunatic and he's unhinged and he says insane stuff, people got the sense, myself included, that usually he would counterpunch. And the media was actually very dishonest in this respect because they would do, they would go after Trump viciously and then Trump would fire back and they would be like, Oh, how dare you call us fake news, good sir? You're standing up against a fine American tradition. The freedom of speech and the Constitution. And everybody had this sense of like, you're kind of being dishonest, aren't you? Like, it's one thing to attack Trump and then just be like, yeah, I attacked you and this is what I said. That's fine. But they would attack him and then when he would respond, they'd be like, oh, good sir, how could you? And they were so self-important and smug and all the mainstream media hosts were like, we've now crossed the line in American history we've never crossed before. One candidate openly slamming the wonderful people and the heroes of the mainstream media. And it was just so over the top and so smug. But I think the American people got like, okay, no, even though he's a dick, he's counterpunching is what he's doing. He's counterpunching. He's not throwing the first punch. He's counterpunching. And counterpunching feels like justice, whereas if you're not counterpunching, if you're throwing the first punch, it doesn't feel like justice. It feels like you're an ass. And so what I would say to Bernie and to Ro Khanna is, you cannot be naive. Listen, the establishment hates you. They hate you. They despise you. You need to acknowledge that. You're not going to be able to placate them. You cannot placate smear merchants because the nature of a smear is that it's not fair. So if you say, hey, that's not quite fair, here's why that's not fair, they don't care because it wasn't fair in the first place when they smeared you. That's what a smear is. So like with Bernie, when Bernie, he was smeared as, your campaign was too white and too male. Ugh. Now, did the numbers prove that? No, it proves the opposite. That didn't matter, because that was the smear. And so what did Bernie and his team do? Well, we hired new people, and it is 70% female and overwhelmingly women of color. Next day, I go on Twitter. First tweet I see on it is somebody saying that it's still too white and male, and this is still a problem that needs to be addressed, and the Bernie bros are a giant issue. Because that's the nature of a smear. You can't placate it. You can't appease it. That's not the way. They're not going to go, oh, even though I was unfairly smearing you and I hate you, now that you've been totally logical and reasonable and you've demonstrated something to me, I now concede and like you. No, they don't like you, Bernie. They don't like you, Roe. They despise you. They hate you. You stand for real change. You actually want to end the wars and do Medicare for all and do all these wonderful policies that their careers depend on that not happening. All these Democratic strategists who've been dead wrong about everything from day one, they put all their eggs in the Hillary basket, then Hillary lost. They thought they'd be in the White House now. They're not in the White House. And now they're giving people advice on how to run campaigns when they're proven they're the last people on the planet Earth that should be running campaigns because they were dead wrong about everything. You think they're going to be fair to you? You think you could placate them? You think you get to play patty cakes and, oh, we'll just stick to the issues and everything will be okay. They are going to smear you relentlessly. If you don't counterpunch and you don't respond and you don't put people in their place, well, then what do you want me to tell you? That's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. So what I would say to them is, don't be naive. I get it, Ro. If you're saying no offensive, don't ever throw the first punch, don't ever do first blood, totally agree. But if you're saying hold your fire, even when you're under ruthless smear attacks, I go, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're going to let them set the narrative? You're going to let them dominate the discourse? And you're going to pretend to be above the fray? No, you have to counterpunch. You have to set the record straight. And people will realize it's justice if you are counterpunching. You don't throw the first punch, you counterpunch. Because they're going to come at you, and especially this time. You want to know why? Because he's the front runner. At a certain point in time, when this clown car of fools that are most of the other candidates, they got nothing to run on. To be fair to Tulsi and to be fair to Elizabeth Warren and Andrew Yang, they do. They're okay. But all the centrist and moderate candidates, they have nothing to run on. They really want to be president because they want to be president, because they're self-aggrandizing narcissists. So they have nothing to run on. They can't make a positive case. So what are they going to do? They're going to try to tear down the guy who's in the lead, Bernie. And if his goal is, or his plan is, I'm above the fray and I'm just going to keep... No! That's a terrible idea. And it's also, by the way, training ground for Trump. If you can't school Amy Cloudbootjar when she smears you, then how the hell are you going to stand up to Donald Trump when he inevitably smears you? What are you going to do? I'm also above the fray against Trump. No! You got to learn how to counter-argue and counterpunch. And again, this is why, listen, I know, I'm just a talk show host and everything, but I have a stellar record when it comes to predictions. And it's because I know a thing or two about politics and what works with the people and what instincts are legit and what is overcoached and wrong. And I really hope that Bernie's new campaign manager and Bernie's top people understand that this is a dirty game we're playing. Whether or not you want to acknowledge it, it's a dirty game. Whether or not you want to admit it, it's a dirty game. And when you're in a dirty game, you're going to get mud on you. It's just a matter of whether or not you let them fling all the mud on you and they're pristine and crystal clear, or you counterpunch and put some mud back on them. So you can't be naive, man. You know, I was just watching the other day the documentary of Roger Ailes. Terrible guy. Horrendous guy, sick guy, gross guy, also political strategic genius. 100%. Everything he touched in terms of candidates turned to gold. You want to know why Mitch McConnell's a politician to this day? Roger Ailes. You want to know who got Mitch McConnell elected to the Senate? Roger Ailes. He took Mitch McConnell, who has the personality of a dead possum, and he made that guy a senator. How did he do it? It wasn't by playing patty cakes and I'm above the fray and we don't go negative. No, it was by saying, I know how to run this shit. I know how to counterpunch. And actually, in his case, wasn't maybe as much counterpunching as just being dirty from the beginning. But you can win by just counterpunching. And you cannot hold your fire through the whole thing. Because then you let everybody else define you. And when you don't respond, people go, well, why isn't he responding? So we can't be naive, guys. You can't placate the smear merchants. You can't play nice and win your way to the White House with smiles and puppies. It's a grind, and it's a battle. And you have to acknowledge it for what it is. And I hope these people are willing to heed my advice.